Years ago, the great Shah Rukh Khan taught us all, Pyar dosti hai. Love is friendship. But the man in the studio, birthday boy Murali Kartik, is telling us some golden truths about married life, and he's teaching us how love is acceptance. Why you ask I say this? It's because it's his birthday. It's also his marriage anniversary. Mr. Kartik, how are you doing, sir?
I'm very good, Manish. But the thing is, you have started sledging me from the get-go.
Why
that
not?
Is brilliant.
Why not, sir? Now, Mr. Kartik, not very thrifty at the age of 50. Because he's been buying expensive jackets. Now that's something Simon Doull knows a thing or two about. Simon, how are you doing? It's so good to see you.
Yeah, lovely to see you both. Happy birthday, Kartik. I hope it's a good one for you. And welcome to the 50 Club, my friend.
That is next year, Dooley. Next year. I'm into my 50th year.
Oh, it's only 49. Sorry, my friend. Sorry.
No, that's fine.
Day over 45.
No, that's fine. Thanks for the wishes, firstly. But I'm into my 50th year. That's how I like to call it. Into my 50s.
Gotcha,
into my 50th year.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
There's just
half century coming next year.
there's one thing common between our two experts here on Cricbuzz Live. Simon has been babysitting the very adorable Axel back home, and Murali Kartik will be babysitting me. So we've got a job on hands. Right. Two interesting teams in action in Abu Dhabi. It is, of course, Bangladesh versus Hong Kong. Now, for the last 2.5 decades, Kartik, every time Bangladesh take the field, the one common question on all cricket shows is, will the Tigers roar? Now, let's take a look at what they've done in the recent past. They've had 3 series wins against Sri Lanka, Pakistan and the Netherlands. Do you see them qualifying from this tough group, which has Sri Lanka as well as Afghanistan, which are the 2 more fancied sides? How do you look at Bangladesh?
Yeah, definitely. They have got a great chance when you look at what they have in terms of their squad, the strength that they have. And also, whether it's the pace bowling stock or the spinners, also the way their batters have gone about it, I definitely see them having a good time. Because at the end of the day, it's about turning up on one day. If you beat one side out of the fancied sides, you're always in the running.
Yeah.
And they have always been very, very talented. There is no dearth of talent. There is no dearth of passion. And there is no dearth for support for Bangladesh. And that is all you can ask for as a team. And this team, led by Litton Das, the likes of Pervez Imon, you talk about Rishad Hossain, you talk about all their big-hitting batters that they have, I think they definitely stand a chance.
Simon, where does this team find itself in your pecking order? Do you see them qualifying for the Super Fours? And clearly this is a team in transition without the big gun. Shakib's gone, Tamim's gone, Mahmudullah's gone as well. And this is a very, very young team.
Yeah, it is a young side. It's a side that I think has immense talent, but we've said that so often about Bangladesh sides. Immense talent, but on the world stage, on the big stage in the tournaments that kind of matter, they've failed to deliver for the most part. It's a side that's got great opportunity. I think Kartik's point about this group, I think either of those 3 sides, the top 3 fancied sides, can beat each other. Yeah. And you can imagine that might happen in this group. So this game against Hong Kong is going to be crucial because it so often does come down to net run rate, and it could come down to net run rate in this group. So you think about today's game, and you must say, with a big win to Afghanistan early, they've helped their net run rate, and Hong Kong's is down. But you look, Bangladesh could beat Afghanistan. Sri Lanka could beat Bangladesh. Yeah. There are just so many permutations, I think, as far as this group is concerned. And it is about time. I think, personally, when you look at the rise of Afghanistan cricket in the short time compared to what has happened to Bangladesh cricket, you would say that Afghanistan have overtaken them as far as, performing on the big stage. And that is somewhere that Bangladesh have just struggled to really get to. And when they've had what we term the big guns, as in you look at Tamim and Shakib, you probably think they're the 2 better players that they've had over the last 15 years. Yeah. They have failed on the big stages with those guys in the team. Not personally those 2, but they've failed on the big stage with those 2 guys in the team. So this young group has a great opportunity, I think, to maybe do something special.
Clearly the hot favourites tonight against a lower-ranked Hong Kong, not very high on confidence, having lost their opening game on day 1. Today, though, Simon, what should Bangladesh's approach, their attitude, their mindset be? Should they go for the kill, or do they say, let's just take the win, we'll figure the net run rate issue later?
It'll be game dependent. It always is in these situations. You often find that the lesser sides, and this is one of the things I say about these tournaments all the time, whether it be a World Cup, an Asia Cup, any sort of tournament format where you've got, what you would determine the next tier, the next level of sides competing. What you find is they often look to bowl first because they don't want to be embarrassed by batting first. From a net run rate point of view, Bangladesh would like to bowl first because then whatever they're chasing, if they're in a good position in the first 5, 6, 7 overs, they can chase them down in a hurry, and that really boosts your net run rate. You don't want to get into a situation where you win the toss, bat first, and then find yourself in a little bit of trouble trying to get that 180, 190, 200. So, it'll be toss dependent and match dependent on how they go about it. If they're chasing a relatively low total, I would imagine they will be all guns blazing because net run rate doesn't matter how many wickets you lose.
Yes, and they've heard you, Simon, because Litton Das has won the toss and they've chosen to bowl first. One of the reasons for that is that he reckons they're not sure about the pitch. Apparently, it's a used pitch, very dry. The cracks have opened up as well. Good call to bowl first, then, Kartik?
It's an interesting one because normally if you don't know about the surface and if you think it's very dry, then you would rather bat first than use it when it's 20 overs old. But having said that, there's also this talk of dew. Abu Dhabi maybe not that much because maybe it's an open field compared to a Dubai stadium. But all the heat, all the teams have been talking about it. But also coming back to what Simon said, maybe they take a leaf out of yesterday, the way India played. They just got them for 56 or whatever in 13 points and then just literally went after it in 4 point whatever number of overs. So that is one way of going about it. But again, a team like Bangladesh, look, there is a bit of history between these two sides. When you think of it, back in 2014, it was Hong Kong who got the better of Bangladesh. And that to a very, very unfancied Hong Kong. So, again, we go back to the same thing. There is no dearth of talent. There is no dearth of passion. And the way they support their team, it has been there for a long time. But they're very touchy. They're very touchy when you talk about their side. Yes, they've made a few finals, but they're also not, as we said yesterday, me and Harsha, and as Simon pointed out, when you look at Afghanistan and when you look at Bangladesh and what Afghanistan has managed over a little period of time with whatever they go through and the kind of wherewithal they have compared to Bangladesh, they've definitely leapfrogged them. But again, having said that, this is a very different side. Forget all the gun players. There is no Mushfiq. There is no Mohammadullah. Tamim's not there. Shakib is plying his trade in CPL and other formats. But this is a young side led by a young player. Maybe the thought process is different and they play a different brand of cricket.
And today they're up against slightly low, very low on confidence Hong Kong, who perhaps were no match for Afghanistan in that opening game. Hong Kong have gone in unchanged. Simon, were you surprised with the lack of application or the lack of general game awareness of this Hong Kong-China side in their opening game?
Yeah, look, it's a tough one. I mean, you imagine most of the time they're going to be outgunned. I'm not surprised they've gone and unchanged. You look through that lineup, it's what they have, and it's the best 11 they can put on the park at the time. So if it's your best 11 in game number one, that shouldn't change in game number two. I think you give them another opportunity. The other thing I often say at these types of tournaments, that what you don't want to encourage your players to do is batting 20 overs is a win in a 50-over contest. Batting 50 overs out, that's a win for us. No, it's not. It's not a win because you haven't bothered trying to even chase down the target. And that, to me, is an issue. I would rather, if I'm coaching a Hong Kong side, if I'm coaching a UAE side, I'd rather see my side bowled out in 16, 17 overs, actually trying to win a game than thinking that batting 20 overs or batting 50 overs in a 50-over contest is a success, because it's not. That's not teaching your players how to win. So I was disappointed in the run chase the other day. Particularly probably the most experienced player in Babar Hayat. He meandered along, and then I know we're going to talk about him soon, but he meandered along, and there was no intent. So you have to encourage your players to have intent without being reckless. I think it's always going to be a tough ask. I understand that, but what we want to do, we want to try and chase whatever is in front of us.
Yeah, you want to show some spark, some fight, and that was clearly missing the other night.
Yeah, 100%. That's exactly what you want to see. When you come in, it is a lopsided contest. Everyone knows that. But the reason why more teams have been added is because these teams get to spar against the better sides. And that's how you get better. But also, sometimes when you know that you've been pushed to one corner, that is the time to row. And as Simon said, that is exactly what you want to see. You don't make basic mistakes. They had lots of chances, lots of catches put down, which were sitters. They were not half chances. Hong Kong put down sitters from the get-go, from the very first over. So if you do those kind of mistakes against better sides, they're going to encash. And also the second thing is, if you know that this is a side where you're up against some of the best spinners in the world, they know that they're going to be all over you. So what do you do? Like yesterday, I didn't mind what happened against India. They at least came up with some thought process. They tried to go after Bumrah. They made the bowlers think. If you're going to sit on top, or if you're going to allow the likes of Bumrah and Varun Chakravarti to bowl at you, they'll bowl at you a whole day. But if you go after them, you might lose it. But again, that's the word. That is what Simon said. The key word is showing intent without being reckless. The key word is not being reckless, having a game plan, and then put some thoughts into the better bowler. Put some thoughts into the better team that you're here for a fight. That's all you want to see.
Intent will surely be top of the menu for Bangladesh, and I know there are a lot of Bangladeshi fans are watching Cricbuzz live from back home in Dhaka and Chittagong, and I'm sure there are lots of reactions coming in. What about their 11? They've gone in with a conventional T20 11, 2 spinners, 3 seamers, and the rest of them 6 batters as well, and that means the Litton Das will bat at 3 with very impressive Parvez Hossain, Imon and Tanzil Hassan Tamim starting the innings when they come out to bat. No surprise there, Simon. Is this along expected lines for you?
I think so, yeah. When we look at those surfaces and look at the weather that's that's been in the UAE in the last few months, it's very, very warm. That's why I get away from there and come to England for the beautiful sunshine. It's just too hot, So you imagine the surfaces are going to be a little bit drier and at times probably a little more spin friendly. But the thing that Bangladesh are starting to do and have probably for the last 2, 3, 4 years, they have started to produce a few decent seam bowlers. And so in the end, you just pick your best 11. And if your best 11 consists of the 3 seamers and the 2 spinners, then so be it. And, 1, maybe 2 guys who can bowl a little bit for you. And they've always had that. Bangladesh have always had a player in the top, or 2 in the top 5, 6 that can offer up a little bit of spin. So, that's always been the key. Pick your best side, pick your best bowlers and hope that they, or, be sure that they can get the job done. So no real surprises from a Bangladesh point of view there.
Is this a rare phase of calmness in Bangladesh, especially their white ball cricket, having chosen Litton Das, especially as their full-time captain of the T20I side, the best choice and perhaps the only one available for the selectors? Good man, good choice?
Yeah, I think so. And when you lose all that experience, you want someone who's going to have the respect of the players and be able to challenge, but also get alongside the young players. What we've seen at times in a lot of Asian cricket and at times in others as well. But when you have 3 or 4 guys in the side who all think they should be captain, it's very, very difficult place to captain a side. And we've seen that across a number of years in different teams. So, they don't need to be mentioned. But I think this is a great opportunity for Litton Das. I think he has the respect of all of those players in the side. There's a little bit of experience, not a lot, but he'd be able to get alongside those younger players, really encourage them, and if he can get them believing that this is a new era, a new start, a generation for Bangladesh cricket, then they buy into that, and all of a sudden they believe, and the moment they believe, I think they are a very, very different side.
Also an advantage for the young captain that he doesn't have to deal with the prima donnas and the superstars in the team. He has a clean slate. He can perhaps work better with the more younger, more malleable players, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's a way to take your team forward. As Simon mentioned, sometimes you're also treading on eggshells because you've got some senior players. You've come into the side when those senior players have already established themselves. Then because of your rise in the game and the fact that they are maybe over the hill, you are handed over the captaincy. So it's not an easy place. You're also trying to watch over what you do. But right now, if he's the man who's going to lead the team forward, you think of Virat Kohli, what he did. Brought in the fitness test, had a new thought process. And maybe it was a bit uncomfortable. You either shape up or ship out. And that is something which is very important. Maybe going forward, there will be a few people who might resent it. Sure. But if that is the way, and that is why Simon used a very nice word, you need to buy into it. You need to buy into this concept. People need to be on the same page, and that is where you take a new era forward. And it's all about building teams. We were talking about this. When you talk about teams, it's, yes, the current is important, the present is important, but you're also having half an eye on the future. And if he's the man to take you into the future, he's got a clean slate, as you said. I won't use the word prima donnas. Yes, there are some senior players. Tough egos to handle as well. But you've got a young man. You've got a young team going forward. They've some very, very talented and dynamic players.
Yeah.
And yeah, you wish them well.
And he will be, of course, captaining this side through to the T20 World Cup and beyond as well. And they've got to give him a long rope. 10 wins in the 19 matches as captain. Not a bad record as captain, but take a look at his batting numbers. A strike rate of 130. Is that the kind of role he should be in, or does he look to perhaps take a leaf out of our very own Rohit Sharma's book, Kartik?
Look, again, everything is conditions driven. I don't look at Cole's stats like that. As long as you are contributing, as long as you are playing a role in the side, it could be whatever. And I think that is what is more important. Sometimes you also need to keep in mind the average, the kind of situations he goes in. Look, he's a wonderful player. There's no denial. And the most important thing is, if he fits into a role, if this is what is expected of him for the time being, so be it.
Simon, straight question to you. Is the anchor role in T20 cricket irrelevant?
It depends. In a chasing situation, I have no issue with it. I've said that for years across IPLs, across tournaments. In a chasing situation, if you are chasing a lowish score and you have a guy that just has others batting around him who are trying to strike at 150, 160, and he strikes at 120 and you win the game, no issue whatsoever. It is all about winning the game.
Yeah.
I think Kartik's point there around conditions is a very, very good one, because you can't look at just numbers in isolation. When we look at numbers in an IPL context, we know that 6, 7 of the venues are unbelievably good batting venues, where you probably need to have a strike rate in that 140, 150, 160 mark if you're in the top 3 in the batting order. Other places you don't. You remember that at half of these games that Bangladesh are playing are in Bangladesh conditions, which haven't always been easy. They've been quite spin-friendly at times. So across the board, if you look at those numbers, maybe a strike rate of 130 is winning you more games than not.
Yeah.
So I think you have to take everything with context, and that's why Kartik's point's a very, very good one around conditions-based. But I don't think the role of an anchor player, and when we talk anchors, are we talking a strike rate of 120 to 130? We probably are. It's not an old anchor role. An old anchor role would have been a strike rate of 105, 106, 110 maybe. So, it's still a relatively aggressive strike rate, I think, 120 to 130.
Yeah.
And it's conditions based. But to me, it's all about winning games for your side.
And also remember, Simon, when we started playing the IPL, and I remember guys like Brendan McCullum, who had a dynamic strike rate. We had that Basra, batting aggregate and strike rate, batting average and strike rate aggregate. So the total had to be more than 150. If you were more than 150, you were a gun player. So the average plus your strike rate.
Yeah.
That's changed because the likes of Gale and ABD and all those guys have taken it to a different level. But again, everything is conditions-based, isn't it? You cannot expect to go and blaze away when things are against you, if it's seaming all over the shop or it's spinning. At the end of the day, again, coming back to what Simon said, things are changing. Things are pretty flexible nowadays. But again, at the end of the day, the underlying factor is, can you get your team over the line? And that is the most important thing. Are you playing a role which your team wants? Sometimes we look at it in isolation. There are certain teams which go gung-ho.
Yeah.
So maybe for them, it is maybe a bit too little.
Yeah.
But there are other teams where you need to play that kind of a role.
Right. On T20 cricket shows, the role of the anchor is still relevant.
Very, very relevant.
Very important.
Very relevant.
Got to be in this chair.
He's the one who rides the show.
Exactly. And I hope to do a good job. But, well, 2 words typically go hand in hand. Babar and strike rate. Not the one from Pakistan, but the one from Hong Kong. Babar Hayat got a bit stuck in that first game, a lowly strike rate as well. And I suppose what he did also hampered your predictions in that first game. I had to bring that in.
Oh, thank you very much.
Told me to. Babar Hayat, were you surprised, perplexed with his approach, or was he compelled to play the way he did because the others around him were getting out?
Look, it's very tough to get into his brain because we were trying to figure out what happened there. Suddenly, he just went into a bit of a muddle. And I think all of them went into a bit of a muddle. It was as if, should we do this? Should we do that? Should we plod our way? Or should we just blaze? And suddenly, the game was gone. And you're up against a solid side. You're up against some wonderful spinners. Again, we just come back to the same thing. It is showing a bit of intent with a bit of sense. And that is the most important thing. But yeah, coming back to Babar, it was pretty confusing because as you rightly said, 8 dot balls and he cost me my prediction game. So I'm very upset with him.
He can tell his children and his grandchildren that he was once upon a time a part of an exclusive list of people or batters who have a T20 International 100 in the Asia Cup. Virat Kohli, Babar Hayat. In fact, Babar Hayat and Nazakat Khan are the only 2 players who were a part of that Hong Kong lineup that beat Bangladesh about 11 years ago. Simon, you reckon he should maybe step it up a little bit, go a gear or 2 higher this time?
When you are the key player and the best player, it's how do you manage that situation mentally? He should be able to manage it well because he's vastly experienced. He's had enough time in the game. He's had enough time at international level and against some quality opposition at different times as well. He needs to set the tone, and I thought he didn't set the tone the other day for that side. Okay, they were 2 down quite early. They lost Zishan and Anshuman Rath right at the top for 5 and 0. So they were under the pump. I get that, but it comes back to my point earlier about actually showing some intent, and he left his intent way too late. And so those that are coming in around him feel like they also have to force the issue. He's got to step up. He's got to be, it'll look okay on the scoreboard for him the other day because he'll say, well, I got 39, no one else got any. Next best score was 16. But that's not the way he should be looking at it. Yeah. He should be dragging those other players along with him. As I say, he has that experience, he has the ability, and he has the wherewithal to play against these types of players and these types of nations without putting too much pressure on himself. So I'd like to see him be a little more aggressive and actually carry, some of those guys through and not expect them to come out and sort of go hard straight away at the bowlers. That's his job to be doing that if he's in.
Yeah. And the other bit, when we say muddled, it was so muddled that Anshuman Rath, since you mentioned him, Simon, you could have driven a motorbike in that gap between the ball and the bat. And he was given out and he was the partner at the other end. You left your, for the starters, the batter should have known that he has not edged it. Yep. There is such a big gap. Yep. And then the other man at the other end didn't ask him to take a review either. So out went Anshuman Rath fuming. So that was the kind of muddle we are talking about.
I wonder if it's the big stage that perhaps makes them feel nervous about things like DRS, something they're not used to when they play the other associate nations. Babar Hayat at 34, having played about 40 or T20 international games, perhaps one part of his mind would already be thinking about retirement. What am I going to do next? Is this his best chance or possibly his last chance at impressing talent scouts of the various T20 teams across the world?
I wouldn't look at it that way. Okay. Look, 34 is young. If you're maintaining yourself and especially when you're playing for an associate nation where you don't have too many sort of resources, so to say, you want to hold on to guys who are experienced. Yep. It's not as if he's over the hill. He's a good enough player. But the point about when you talk about, do they get nervous? Maybe. And that is where somebody needs to tell them, look, we know we're not going to win, but at least we can put up a show. You are the senior man. Be the way you are. Don't think of, sometimes you have your own reputation at stake, which you have done against the other sides, and you put undue pressure on yourself when you're up against the better side, when you want to be the man who performs. So those are the kind of things which needs to be spoken about because he's the experienced guy. He's the one who has seen it all, who's done it all for his team, and don't just treat it as another game. That's sometimes many of us forget the fact that it's the same game. It's just a step up. Sometimes we end up trying to outdo ourselves and in the process end up failing. And I think that's a key thing to remember as sports people. It's the same game. It's just a different stage.
He's got to back himself. Remember, he hit 3 sixes in that innings, in that opening game. And today he will be up against 2 quality spinners. One of them, Rishad Hossain. 14 wickets in the 7 matches of the T20 World Cup. He's picked up 48 T20 international wickets in 40 matches. Has he done well enough to be called a solid wicket-taking, aggressive wicket-taking option for Bangladesh in this format?
Yeah, he's still a work in progress.
Okay.
But he's got all the trappings of a fine young bowler.
Sure.
Because I think he came to India when we were doing the series. And there is something about him. He does spin the ball. There is something conventional about the way he goes about it. And that's what you want. Again, in a place where we spoke about trees throwing left-arm spinners,
yeah.
You've got Bangladesh coming up with a leg spinner of quality. Yeah. Again, look, it's not an easy art. And especially in T20 cricket, you still learn as you go. Yep. But as you said, I wouldn't call him the out-and-out product, but I would still say that he's got everything to be a top-quality bowler going forward.
He seems to have sort of gone off the boil after that T20 World Cup. Simon, perhaps a lot more game time and he'll grow in confidence. How would you go about using Rishad Hossain at the Asia Cup and hereafter?
I think he's a player that will thrive under Litton Das and in this new regime. I think in the next 2, 3, 4 years, you look at. I think he's got ability with the bat as well, and I think he'd be a genuine number 8 who can bowl you a lot of overs in a Test match. I think in one-day cricket and T20 cricket, he's certainly a 10 over and a 4 over option throughout. Through the middle, more often than not, is when you tend to want to use them. You've also got to remember that, I think Kartik will probably or hopefully kind of agree with me, but spinners' best years, you look at all the great spinners, 27 to 34, you've learnt your trade at 27. You kind of know a little bit more about your game, I feel, Kartik. And when we look at wrist spinners in particular, I think I'd take a Kumble and a Warne, and those are the 2 main examples I think of. Their best years were 27 to 33, 34.
100%.
So I don't think that's unfair to say his best years are probably yet to come, Kartik.
Yeah, 100%. Because, what happens is with spinners, you come with all this talent, you come with all this tag behind you that, oh, he's the next man to watch out for. Then what happens is initially you have some success and then people try and find you. People try and figure out what you are all about. And then you have to go back to the drawing board, reinvent yourself, go through those failures when you don't pick up wickets or when you don't have a good run. And then you keep figuring out what works for you, what makes you tick. And that's one of the reasons why as you age from maybe, I would even say 25, 26, if you're a smart enough spinner, I think till 34, 35. Because at the end of the day, I always tell all the spinners, you bowl with your legs. As long as you're maintaining your core strength, your leg strength, you end up being a very fine bowler. And also, you figure out what works for you. That's the most important thing. If you have a big ripping leg break, you end up using it too much, end up going for runs. Then you know how to string it, how to use the different variations at different times. And that is what that experience and that survival instinct teaches you. So, yeah, absolutely spot on, Simon.
It's a big opportunity to bowl at this level or in a tournament like this, having seen what the pitches have done, Simon. India played 3 spinners. Afghanistan spinners bowled really well. How do you see pacers performing, or what kind of role do you see for pacers? Because we saw Bumrah bowling the off-cutter with the new ball as well. Are they going to be more in a support role through this Asia Cup, pacers?
Well, I always think that T20 internationals in particular, you've got to look to use that new ball. And it might be only 2 or 3 overs. If you can make 1 or 2 breakthroughs with that brand new ball from a seam bowling point of view, you're making the job through the middle for the spinners a lot easier. Yeah, slower balls are going to play a role. We know that the surfaces are going to be a bit drier. They're going to hold a touch as well. And at the back end, you're going to have to work out what you need to do from a seam bowling point of view. Can you get your Yorkers right? Do you use the big square boundaries, take pace off into the surface? I never like to think any bowler, whether it be a spinner or a seamer in any conditions, is just playing a support role, because you have a role to play in these formats where you've got to get through 4 overs. Yep. You don't want to be relying on a part-timer. So figure out your best way to go about it. If it is cutters early-ish on, so be it. I don't mind it. But set your fields accordingly. Make sure you have a plan in place. Make sure you can still nail a Yorker if you have to, just to change things up. And don't be afraid or worried about going for a short ball now and then, just to change things up a little bit. Don't be too predictable will be the word I would use.
Hong Kong looked a bit at sea against Afghanistan spinners. Would you perhaps fancy an over or two from Rishad in the power play?
Again, depends on the conditions. Again, if you feel... I don't think Rishad is still a power play bowler because he needs a bit of a spread out field. But if you're pushed into a corner and if you're forced to use him, maybe just one over. But again, depends which over. Fifth, sixth are possibly some of the toughest overs any bowler can bowl. So you need to be pushed into a corner if you're Bangladesh to be using Rishad in the power play.
Quick update from Abu Dhabi. Bangladesh have won the toss and Litton Das has chosen to bowl first. Hong Kong will, of course, be hoping that their batters can put on some fight against a solid Bangladesh bowling lineup. A quick look at their 11s. Hong Kong have gone in unchanged. And this is the Bangladesh lineup. 2 spinners in Mehdi Hasan and Rishad Hossain, plus the 3 seamers in Tanzim, Taskin, and the lefty Mustafizur Rahman with his cutters will come in as well.
Hong Kong You can use Mehdi. Mehdi is a better option in the power play.
Okay, that's a fair call. And Hong Kong have gone in unchanged as well. They're looking for a slightly better show. Clearly, Bangladesh start favourites. Today is a happy day in the Cricbuzz studio because it's Mr. Murali Kartik's 49th birthday. And yet, you have no respite from joy factor.
I don't even look at that. It's the killjoy factor. It's no enjoy. It's killjoy.
He worked so hard to send us questions.
Because he is a jallad.
Okay, let's take a look at what Mr. Bhattacharya sent us for today's Joy Factor question. Here we are then. With reference to the ODI version of the Asia Cup, if Ajanta Mendis is in the first place, followed by Irfan Pathan, who is in the third? I have no idea.
I think maybe, I'm just saying, Ajanta got 6 for 13 against India in 2008, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe Irfan has got the second best figures. We'll have to figure out who's the third best figure. For the first time, maybe my mind is thinking.
Is it Mia Magic?
I've got no idea.
Siraj, possibly?
Oh, well done, Anchor. Anchor role is important.
We shall get to the bottom of this. But before we say goodbye and get cracking with the first innings, quick predictions, gentlemen. Hong Kong batting first. Double digit, triple digit?
Triple digit. I'm going 117.
Simon.
Ooh, I had a number in mind and I'm going to stick with it, but it's very close. 1, 2, 3.
I'm going to say 81.
Okay.
For Hong Kong.
Ooh.
Enjoy the first innings. We'll see you at the 10 over mark on Cricbuzz Combox.